Mississippi raised her soft, Mississippi raised her strong. Magnolia roots don't let you go, even when you're gone. She crossed the river for a job, a chance, a little more. Never knew Zachary would be the last known open door. November wind on Ash Street, a text that came in slow. Got a new job, mama, I'll be home. You know I always go. Then the phone went quiet like a hymn nobody finished singing. And a mother in Mississippi felt her whole world start ringing. This is the woman who makes the magic happen when you're far from home and need her hand. Well, I'm trying to make the magic happen now. Bring my baby home. I can't do it alone. Understand, steel in my spine, grace in my prayer. Mississippi taught me how to stand and not despair. I will not stop, I will not rest till I carry my Madison home to rest. She trusted a promise that wore a lie beneath it. A house on Ash Street, hiding what he never once admitted. Belongings of another girl still hanging in that hall. The last one he called her Lord, he called them nothing at all. 3 babies wait for a mama. The world moved past, but we don't move past nothing here. Our love was built to last. Generations bent by hardship, never broken, never bowed. Mississippi women praying whispers that come out loud. This is the woman who makes the magic happen when you're far from home and need her hand. Well, I'm trying to make the magic happen now. Bring my baby home. I can't do it alone. Understand, steel in my spine, grace in my prayer. Mississippi taught me how to stand and not despair. I will not stop, I will not rest till I carry my medicine home to rest. They say time erases things, but a mother's memory doesn't work that way. It works like Sunday morning every week, without fail, showing up again. Madison, baby girl, your mama knows the truth is heavy now. Knows what her heart has had to carry. But grief doesn't get the last word. Love does. And love says, bring her home. Not for closure, for a name on the stone, for a place where her babies can stand and speak to her. Somebody knows something. Somebody saw something. Silence is a kind of theft too, and we are done being robbed into quiet. This is the woman who makes the magic happen when you're far from home and need her hand. And I am making the magic happen now. I'm bringing my baby home. I've got my whole family standing. Steel in my spine, grace in my prayer. Mississippi taught me how to stand and not despair. I will not stop, I will not rest till I carry my Madison home to rest. Come home, Madison, come home. Magnolia's still blooming, and we're not done searching. Let me bring her home. Let me bring you home. Come home, Madison, Madison.
Live on the air, Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Hey guys, welcome. I'm sorry, you know me, I'm hitting buttons again. Greetings to all of our trial junkies, our truth seekers, and our justice warriors tonight. I'm Z, your storyteller in the wilderness of injustice. With me, my ride or die doc riding shotgun as we navigate the corners of this system that sometimes will just look away and not pay attention. Every case we cover, it's a person. This isn't just a headline, guys. Every predator depends on your silence, and we don't give it to them. That's why we're here. And tonight we're shining a light on a case that actually has just a little bit of movement, but there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. So buckle up. The road ahead gets rough, and we're going to walk you through another chapter of this thing we call the justice system. Doc, are you ready to go tonight?
Ready to roll.
Okay. We're going to be talking about Madison Allen. And in 2023, she disappeared. And down here in Louisiana, as you all know, they always talk about the devil needing the back roads. Well, this one's got a day job and a driver's license and a quiet street that he comes home to. He thought he could bury the truth the way the bayou buries everything. But you know what? The bayou gives it up, those secrets, when a mama won't stop digging. And tonight, you're going to meet the mama of Madison Allen. She isn't stopping. And the authorities, they have arrested someone who's now they're saying is a person of interest. But let me introduce to you Lynn Rollins, Madison's mom, who won't stop looking. And she's going to walk us through what has happened so far. And we also have a special guest, Brian Fitzgibbons, who is the director of USPA Nationwide Security. And he's a former Marine and an Iraq War veteran, and he oversees the teams that do the search and recovery of missing people, boots on the ground. And he's going to help us show through his training maybe what didn't quite go right with this case, what maybe could happen that will help. So, welcome to you both very much.
All right, thank you for having me.
Oh,
thank you, Lynn.
So glad you're
thank
both
you, Doc
with us.
and Z.
We're thrilled to have you guys. It's our honor. Lynn, could you tell us who your daughter was? Who was Madison?
Madison is my oldest daughter. She just recently turned 35 on August the 1st. She's a mother. She has 3 children, a daughter, a son, and a baby that's a son. Their ages are 17, 10, and 4 as of right now. She has a brother and sister. And growing up, Madison was just like any teenager, you know. She was fun loving. She cared about others. And of course, you know, she got into trouble just like everybody else does, but she was pretty much a good kid and just outgoing, and she has a big heart. She cared a lot about others, and she enjoyed helping other people.
And on July 19th, one of the reasons we're doing this show right now is because the person that is the suspect, they got a call in West Feliciana Parish. A woman was allegedly being held against her will, and deputies responded, and they found out Thomas Morris, and that's the only time I'm going to say his name because, as far as I'm concerned, he's a slug, was arrested that night, and he's booked on second-degree kidnapping, false imprisonment, and held on $500,000 bond at the moment. And the sheriff has confirmed he is now a person of interest in 2 cases, your daughter's, Madison's, and also in Stephanie, is it Hevia? Is that how you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Hevia.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little more about Madison and what brought her into his realm. Because Madison was born in Mississippi, Liberty, Mississippi, but Louisiana calls people. You know, Louisiana's special. It has a calling, and people want to come and and see what Louisiana offers. And so she kind of went back and forth between Louisiana and Mississippi, right?
Right, she did. The last time that Madison moved to Louisiana was, I think it might have been the end of 22 or either the beginning of 23. I can't remember. She had an apartment, she had a car, and I believe it was August of 23, she lost her apartment, but she still had her car. So, and she chose to stay in Louisiana. So she was staying in and out of hotels, and I'm sure she was staying with some friends too. I'm not positive on that, but she was staying in and out of hotels. Um, and that's how she had ran across Thomas Moore's, was at a convenience store that was local to the hotels that she would stay in. And then in October, I think it was like the second week of October of 23, she totaled her car. So now she didn't have a house and she no longer had a means of transportation. And she met Thomas Morris, and he offered to bring her into his home to give her a place to stay, food, money, whatever it is that she needed or wanted to help her get back on her feet, and in return to help take care of his two minor children that were still in the home at this time. You know, he just painted her a street of gold and she took it.
Yeah.
Um, I knew where Madison was staying was in Zachary, but I didn't know the exact location or who she was staying with. I just knew that she was staying in a home with someone helping take care of his two children. And she moved into the home, it was like the third week of October of 23. And and then she was gone by the end of November of 23.
Yeah. And Brian, you found out he preyed on women by going to this gas station, meeting women, you know, that he could coerce.
Yeah, I would say that, something that jumps off the page in this case is that there appears to be a pattern of behavior here. That Madison was not the only woman that Thomas Morris preyed upon, meeting them when they're, at a low and vulnerable point in their lives. In Madison's case, her vehicle had just been totaled. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn, but I believe the first cell phone interactions between Thomas Morris and Madison was a day after the accident took place. Lynn was able to track these records down. Sorry, go ahead, Lynn.
I was going to just say it was around that time. Yes, sir. I can't remember for sure, but yeah.
Yeah. So the, some unfortunate timing to, of course, but what we've seen and what Lynn has uncovered in really a dogged investigation that she's done herself is there was another woman that met Morris at this same gas station, similar circumstances, shortly after Madison's disappearance. And now we have confirmed through law enforcement reports and, reporting done on Morris's case, that he's connected to a few other women who have been missing in an October 2024 domestic abuse arrest that led to a year-long protective order. So this is a pattern of behavior that you see. And I think really the exclamation point was put on this just a couple weeks ago when law enforcement actually named him as a person of interest in Madison's case and a person of interest in Stephanie Hevia's missing persons case from 2025.
Yeah. And Katrina, good question. No, her children weren't with her. Her children were with her mom, Lynn. You had the children, right, Lynn? So
No, they was with their dad.
Oh, with their dad. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're safe. Her children are safe. Lynn was there by herself, or Madison was there in Louisiana by herself. So, but that was a good question, Katrina. She also says Semper Fi to Brian.
Semper
Matri-
Fi.
Katrina's our military girl. So and also Semi said she was born in Mississippi too. So she's a Mississippi girl living in Louisiana. But so this guy, he's got the history. And Madison moved in with him in October. And I hate this is one thing that the reporters keep saying that he was Madison's boyfriend. He was not her boyfriend. This was someone that had offered her a place to stay. She was going to babysit his children. In fact, I think the last picture, let me go back. This picture right here is the last picture that Madison shared on her Facebook. And in the back, you can kind of just see a child. You can't see his face. That's why I'm showing it. But that is the child of this man, because she was taking the child to school. So that was what she was supposed to be doing, is caring for his two children. He had a boy and a girl. And that was what the job was supposed to be. And the last time you spoke to her was when, Lynn? That you know it was her.
The last time that I spoke to Madison and heard her voice was November the 15th. We text and communicated that way after November the 15th. I think I might have spoke to her on Thanksgiving. I can't remember if I spoke to her on the phone on Thanksgiving or if we was just texting back and forth on Thanksgiving. But the last time I know for sure that I received a text from Madison that I have no question would have been around Thanksgiving, and that was on her personal cell phone.
Right.
And I say that because I believe it was November the 26th I started receiving messages from another number that was supposed to have been Madison, but I have no way of actually knowing for sure if that was Madison on this other line or not.
Which is odd. Isn't it, Brian?
Right, because she already had a phone.
Yeah, and to add a little bit of that, and when Lynn and I originally began talking a couple years ago, this is one of the things that really jumps out about this story. So, Lynn has some routine communications with Madison on on her personal line, and then a couple days after that last exchange, around Thanksgiving. So I'm looking at the timeline here. So now on November 29th, right? So it's not just Lynn. One of Madison's friends was also communicating with her in late November on that personal line. Now on November 29th, the second number is texting about a job that she was hired at for a home healthcare position. Lynn exchanges some texts with her or with that number. But one thing that Lynn pointed out is that the context of the sentence, the grammar, the punctuation used in these messages was not consistent with a pattern that Madison typically used. Now, hey, is that enough forensic evidence to charge somebody with something? No, but we all have intuition, right? And I can tell you there are many cases that I've been on where there are text messages that the family members know did not come from, were not written by their loved one. And something rang a bell here with Lynn and on those messages from November 29th.
Yeah, Doc would know if it wasn't me, because when I text, I'm one of those, I spell everything out. I don't use abbreviations much. So if all of a sudden someone started using all the text slang, he would know that's not me. Yep.
Definitely.
And so, yeah, I can see where Lynn's mom would like, something's a little odd, but at first you kind of you're still communicating,
Right.
And did you find out about this job that she supposedly was supposed to get, Lynn?
One of the jobs, a screenshot was sent to me by Thomas Morris later on, that she had a job interview, and I contacted this number, and they had no record of Madison showing up for this job interview, and I can't remember the date on it. Um, was it like November the 30th that she was supposed to have went there?
Yeah, I'm
But
pulling it up right now.
yeah, I don't have any of that in front of me, and it's been so long I can't remember the
Yeah.
exact dates anymore. I should have it memorized and burned in my brain as many times if I had looked at it and went over it. But
Yeah,
she didn't
sorry,
show
Lynn,
up. They had
it
no
was
record.
November 29th that she had the messages indicate that Madison would be starting work on Thursday. But the previous day was the interview that she didn't show up for.
Right.
So right there, that's a huge, huge signal that something's not right. And then the next time you hear from her or from that cell phone would be when? Or did you hear from that cell phone again?
That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
And at first you didn't go into panic mode because she is an adult. She has
Right.
lived in Louisiana before, so you figure she's living her life.
Yeah,
But
she had told me in, previous conversations that she was going back to school and that she was going to go to work. And, I just figured she was busy and I had stuff going on with my life too. And I didn't panic because,
yeah,
Madison was grown and I knew that if something was wrong, Madison would contact me and let me know because she knows I'd come get her anywhere.
right. And so when did the bells start going off that something's not right here?
Well, I didn't hear from her Christmas. That was odd, but I didn't lead too much into it because I guess I didn't want to worry. And I had, like I said, a lot going on myself. And then time went by and I still didn't hear from her, but I was still busy working, trying to send my youngest daughter to school and having, relationship problems of my own at the time. And then my birthday rolled around. And she's never missed my birthday, which is March the 1st. Um, and I remember laying in bed that night thinking, it's kind of odd that I haven't heard from Madison on my birthday. And then a friend request that I had sent to her latest Facebook, the one that picture was posted on,
Right.
I sent that to that in November. So did my youngest daughter, and her friend request was accepted right away. Mine wasn't. And then that night, I received a notification that, she accepted my friend request. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, my baby's fine. She's just busy. And I left it at that. Um, it wasn't until April that I became very concerned because I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's the truth. Madison's dad passed away, I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I had a dream about her dad and Madison one night in April. And I remember waking up the next morning. I'm like, why am I dreaming about Ronnie? That's Madison's dad's name. I didn't think nothing about it, but I had a heavy feeling on my chest. And I'm just thinking, maybe Ronnie's just messing with me. But I dreamed about Ronnie the next night too. And when I woke up that morning, I knew something was wrong. I said, as soon as my feet hit the floor, I was like, oh my God, something's happened to my child. And I began reaching out to all of Madison's to go to friends. I called her people that she stayed in contact with, her to go to
Right.
friends because she stayed in contact with them. And I knew that they would be able to get in touch with her if I couldn't. Well, none of them had heard or seen from her since around November the 29th as well. And then I went to messaging all of her friends on Facebook, on the new Facebook. I sent everyone a message. Um, and the ones that received the messages or responded, they hadn't seen or heard from her
Right.
either. And Thomas Morris was one of those friends. I sent him a message just like I did everybody else. As a matter of fact, I was copying and pasting it so everybody got the same message, saying who I was and I was looking for Madison, that I was concerned. And he responded with, don't quote me on it, I don't have it in front of me anymore, that he hasn't known her very well, but he's been looking for her too, and that he hadn't seen her around Thanksgiving. he never once told me that my daughter was living in his home, because at this time we did not know whose home she was living in. It was later we found out after I reported her missing. My youngest daughter and I reported her missing first here in Liberty because that's where we live. And the next night we was told that we had to go report her missing in Zachary. So we went to Zachary. But the picture that was last posted on her Facebook had a child in the background. So the truancy officer at the school identified the little boy in the background, and at the same time I was getting a message from one of her to go to friends where she had sent the address to the Zachary home where she was staying. So then we put two and two together and realized it was Thomas Moore's, and
And
he
that and
still
that's a picture of the house right there that he was living
right,
in.
that's the house that my daughter was staying in that she vanished from. She
Didn't that
you know,
comment?
he never once told me that she was living in his home. And I just found that very, very odd from the start, because, you know, here's a mother looking for her child and hadn't seen her in months or heard from her in months, and you're not going to mention that, you know, she left here or she was living here.
Did
And when the
didn't the
police
didn't the
called
police
him,
did the police think that that was a little suspect?
at this time they didn't um they didn't go to the house. If they went to the house, they didn't get anybody. They called him on the phone, and he told them over the phone that my daughter had left there November the 29th and took everything with her. Um, he also had told the same thing to two private investigators that was helping me pro bono. They went to the house and spoke to him. He told them the same thing, that she left November the 29th and took everything with her.
Okay. And Brian, isn't that odd that the police didn't actually go to the house? Why would you just call someone if you find out that she's living there or what?
Yeah, I think that, the initial, unfortunately, the initial investigation, lacked a lot of gusto. There was a phone call made. It was, things were brushed off and things weren't followed up on. What we were left with is Morris, who now is implicated in one, two, three, four, five other violent
Yeah.
crimes, was left with this evidence for months to do whatever he needed to do. And I think it's important when we talk about this timeline. In November, at that time, this wasn't like a red flag, red emergency, right?
Right.
There was some time that transpired after that that brought some distance from the date that we believe Madison was last seen at Morris's residence on November 29th, and potentially
Right.
even the 28th, right? Because, I'll add in one thing to the mix here. In January of 2024, and Lynn, jump in, correct me if I'm wrong on this, there was activity on Madison's PayPal account,
Right.
sending money. It was. I want to look at the amount. It was one transaction, $60, and one for $110. To the gentleman that was caring for Madison's son. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay,
Right. And
so go ahead.
I was able to get into all of Madison's accounts this past November, because her personal phone that she had was through the gentleman, well, her son's dad now. We was able to get into all of her accounts, and that PayPal account was one of those. And someone was using her phone requesting money from certain individuals, and the same amount that was requested was the same amount that was sent to I'm going to say his name, Marty. And one thing that stuck out to me after I had kept looking at, because I'm looking at things, and I'm going over it and I'm going over it. I was not aware that you can send a message on PayPal. But when Marty received the money, he sent back thank you, and he didn't think anything else about it. Well, I got Madison's accounts, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it. A message was sent back to Marty that he never read because he didn't know he had it. Said, have you seen her lately? And I'm like, that right there shows me that somebody had access to Madison's accounts, which I already knew that before. All her accounts have been used up until was it July of last year, I think it was, or it might have been July of 24. I have to go back and look and see, in which I had brought all this new evidence to the attention of Zachary Police Department as well. It's just,
And what was their
So
response?
they was gonna look into it.
Huh.
You know, I hate to keep saying this, but my daughter's case was not taken seriously from day one. And then I got another detective, and my daughter's case was being looked at. But it was like a lot of things that I provided them with was overlooked as well. Her Facebook was being used with, I seen messages sent to other women from Madison's messenger asking these women, do you have a good man? I wish I had a pretty woman like you, something along these lines. And I screenshotted all of it, and I took, I sent it to the detectives and Zachary. And in my mind, I'm thinking you're using this account to pick up other women.
yeah.
But
Wow.
it was just a lot. Like, her address was changed November the 29th to her Chime account, and it was just all kinds of different information that I had ran across when I was able to get into this phone.
Brian, what does that tell you? That here he is using all this
Yeah,
information.
hey, a lot of times that's bizarre. Number one, right? That he's using her account to scout and recruit other potential women. It speaks to his mindset, right?
Right.
That you can see that's certainly kind of obsessive behavior. This is somebody who's not who's in that very kind of crazed period. That's not a very calculated play. The thing that sticks out to me with these, when I see transactions or cleanup type text messages, it kind of keeps people from looking for if Marty gets
Right.
Marty needs to enroll her son in something and needs some cash to do that, and Madison was supposed to send it. That's where my mind always goes is, hey, if that PayPal's sent, nobody's asking questions for the next 2 or 3 weeks, right? And the further distance it is away
Right.
from the time that she, whatever happened on November 28th, 29th, the longer we can spread that out, the harder it is for, the perpetrator to be convicted.
Yeah.
And Raymond had asked a question:
Yeah.
Was Morris a drug dealer? Morris did admit, didn't he, Lynn, that he got drugs for girls if they want. He wasn't a drug. Well, I guess he was a drug dealer,
Yeah.
but not normal. He wasn't selling on the street. He was just using it with the girls that he would invite in his home.
Right.
So that
Right.
was, so yes, he was totally. Yeah, someone said predator behavior. He totally was.
And I'll go on the record and
Yeah.
say, look at his booking photo. And I have photos of him previously. This is an individual that looks like he has been using drugs at least heavily, that he's
There
in
he
some
is.
kind of active addiction.
Yeah.
His facial structure has changed in the last 3 years,
Yeah,
quite a bit.
I do have a photo. I was only going to show this photo, but I remember there is a photo I had got of him from his Facebook where before it went down. and he had a much fuller face.
Yeah.
Right.
So
From everything that I was told, now I don't know because I wasn't in the home. I've never been around Thomas Morris. Is that he wasn't a user, that he was just like a supplier, so to speak. That he never fooled with any kind of drugs of anything. But I don't know because I wasn't in the home
yeah,
or around him. But I was told by several different people that he would go get the drugs for the girls, and he even told the first detective that I had on the case, that he would supply them with the drugs that they wanted.
and they
Yeah.
didn't arrest him.
No,
That's a
Wow.
I mean, Brian, wouldn't that be a confession if some guy goes, "Well, I supply him with drugs"?
Yeah, I mean, hey, there are a lot of head scratchers here, and I have to believe, if we look at the last 3 years of his existence, right?
Yeah,
We listed out before the show 6 women, including Madison. One at Madison and another one. These might be felony murder charges, right?
right,
yeah,
For Morris. So when you add in, hey, he's got the proximity to people who are using, he's buying, and then I look at his photo in comparison to other photos. This is somebody who's had the 3 years of his life, either allegedly perpetrating violent crimes and being, charged and put a $500,000 bond on him. I'm looking at this photo and I'm seeing somebody who, his pattern of violence escalated over the 3 years, right? And continued. And, fortunately, for everybody else out there, we have people in this world like Lynn, who has continued to beat the drum and shout from the mountaintops that something was wrong here and to find her daughter. And I have to say, I think that Lynn's efforts have led to this arrest and this statement from the police that he's implicated in 2 missing persons cases.
Yeah, I think she's kept the pressure on, and I think he's cracked under the pressure. I think he's finally cracked. And Katrina says, if that face approached me at a gas station, I would probably shrink. You're right about that, dear. But the thing is, this was a man that worked for the water department. So he had a
right,
job. His wife passed away due to COVID. And so he had a sad story to tell these girls. And
and
I
money to
don't think
throw around.
and I don't think it was a situation where the first time he approached them, they went with him. I think they saw each other at the gas station. He probably dropped by for his coffee in the morning or whatever, and worked up a relationship, became a Facebook friend, you know. And so for someone that all of a sudden you've lost your apartment, you've wrecked your car, what are you going to do? He gave her a lifeline. And sadly, she thought he was safe. She thought, here's this dad with children. Who knows if he even brought the kids around to the gas station a time or two? We don't know. So he
Right,
would have appeared like a safe haven for her. And he wasn't. Because
right,
after Madison disappears, the next girl, now she came into the situation and she took over that cell phone. Did she take over one of the
right. I'm not sure when she moved into the home, but she was in the home in April when the private investigators went there. So she was in the home in April, but yes, she had the phone that was given to Madison by Thomas Morris.
And when did Thomas, before we go into her story just a bit, when did Thomas actually take Madison's cell phone to the cops?
July.
July. So first he
Hmm.
tells the cops that she left and took all of her stuff.
Right. In
For
April.
but then he walks in July and gives both cell phones, the one that she owned and the one that he was letting her use, a laptop. to the police?
They called him back in for questioning
Okay.
for July in July. They gave him 3 months. And I wish I could remember what exactly was going on for them to want to bring him in for questioning. I'm sure it was some of the stuff that me and the private investigators came up with that and gave to Zachary Police Department. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they brought him in for questioning. I think it might have been July the 17th around that time.
Had the other girl disappeared yet that was there in April?
No, she didn't disappear. That was the lady that was strangled in October of 24.
Okay. So who was the girl that was there in April?
Oh,
That,
we skipped one. I'm
oh,
sorry. After
Yeah.
Madison disappeared in November, and in
okay.
December he had another lady in and out the home.
Okay. And then she wanted to leave. So he drops
They
her off, right?
right.
He
They got in
we'll call her
into an
Jill.
argument
So
of
he
some kind.
okay.
From the story that she told us, the best I can remember is that she went with him to drop off some women's clothing at a abandoned lot, and she got scared and wanted to go home, and he ended up putting her out the vehicle.
So you have to wonder, was that Madison's clothing? Number one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he
Um,
take
I actually had a chance to interview this woman when Lynn made the
yes.
connection a year or two ago.
we'll
And
call her Jill, just so we have
yeah,
a name.
and you know, I think by all accounts, the things that are important for this case is that she was recruited in the exact same way. Okay, he met her
Exactly.
at the gas station with an offer to live with him at the Ash Street residence in exchange for taking care of his kids. Right. So you know,
Okay.
here's the phone.
Exactly.
She even said that there were clothes that you know there that were likely Madison's that Morris said were from the last girl that was helping him out. And you know her missing persons story, and you know we won't get into that whole piece of it because I don't know if it's necessarily relevant to Madison's case. But
Right.
what is relevant is the way that they connected was exactly the same. The pattern was exactly the same, and kind of an escalation of that relationship falling apart, of the control that Morris was putting on her, and you know, really the temper, the anger, the violence
Right.
as she was looking to leave. So it paints us a picture to say, you know, hey, this was actually December of 2023, so it was within weeks of Madison's disappearance. She had moved in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she was reported missing in like January of 24, I believe is what it was.
Let's see. Yes, January 20th, 2024 is when she
And
went
she was
missing.
found in April.
Yeah.
Okay. And when was it that he posted in Facebook about his vehicle and needing to get deer blood out of it?
He didn't post that. He called someone.
Okay.
He called someone and asked them. Now the person that gave us this statement was gave us the date November the 29th because he said he was at a family's birthday party somewhere and he remembered a phone conversation, and when he called that he had called wanting to know how to get deer blood out of his vehicle.
Yeah.
So that was back in November of 23.
Right around when Madison disappears.
Right.
And you were telling us beforehand that now the police have recently how recently did they actually look at his car?
I'm not sure when they took the vehicle, because the guy that gave this statement, he gave this statement when he notified me of it, and I don't do. Is that in the report that we put together, Brian?
I don't think
I think
so.
that's in there.
The
But anyway,
date.
whenever I was informed of the deer blood, the guy gave his statement and Zachary was notified of the situation, but they didn't do anything. It was maybe last year when they started looking at that. Yes, because my first detective left in September of last year. Um and
So,
we
so over a year after they've been told, they finally decide, hey, maybe we ought to look at this.
right.
Ah,
Uh, that's a, and then
Um
and what was their result that they told you?
What I was told, I got two different stories. One story was, I kept calling because they sent it off to be analyzed. One was I was told by two different detectives. One told me that it hadn't came back yet, and then when I talked to another one, he told me that it hadn't came back yet, and then he called and I asked him about it, and he said that it came back as being inconclusive to Madison's. I didn't ask any questions. It's just that I was told it came back inconclusive. I don't know if that means that it came back as to someone else's blood or if it came back because it was contaminated with chemicals is why they couldn't get a match. I don't know. I was just told that it came back inconclusive. I did not
Bri-
see any paperwork. I did ask how I could obtain a copy of this because I want to see for myself.
Yeah.
And I never received it.
Brian, what do you think by them rephrasing it that it's inconclusive to Madison? To me, that I jumped to, well, that must have been human at least.
Yeah, I don't want to rule that out, right? That
Yeah,
these tests, it's not like the movies,
yeah,
so they take a sample, they send that sample. They have basically one shot to do it based on however the budget of that department is and how much money they're going to invest on running these tests. I'm sure they're outsourcing it, sending it off to a lab that, that parish or county office uses. And, hey, what does that inconclusive mean? Is it somebody being tight-lipped about an investigation and saying, hey, there was no match to Madison, but it was, human blood? Or was it deer blood? And they're just saying it's inconclusive. I would like to think that they would tell the mother of a missing person, hey, it came back as, not
yeah,
human,
yeah,
DNA or whatever. But I don't read too much into that.
yeah,
Not nearly as much as I read into the statement made, and I'm going to say it one more time. The fact that law enforcement named Thomas Morris as a
yes,
person of interest publicly in Stephanie Hevia's case and in Madison's case, that is a statement. That statement says more than the statement itself.
right.
So that's number one. The second point that I want to make is this is an individual who I can list off violent crimes that he's been at least alleged to be a part of, right? The October 2024 incident. You have potentially Madison, Stephanie Hevia, now a fourth
Well,
one, sorry, running through the woods.
let's take them in order that we know of. We're starting with Madison,
We're
missing
starting with
in
Madison,
missing
right?
Then
in
you got
November.
Jill.
Then
Okay,
you got Jill,
Jill,
who Lynn and I have both talked to, right? There
right,
were no
Right.
charges
And
brought
then
against Morris in that, but this is another one. So
okay.
then you
And
have
the girl that was living there in April, that would be the next girl, right?
the
the
next,
one that he was arrested for on strangulation charges in October
Okay, so
yeah,
that
of
girl
24.
of 24. So that's that girl that was there from April to October of 24. So that's
correct.
number
hmm
3. Then there was another girl that she just wanted to get out, right? Because
Right.
she was on the phone with her cousin and he was
The
being violent.
911 call.
So she's, tells him, get me out of here. And the police show up and get her out. She doesn't press
Right.
charges because I
The
guess she
police
just want.
actually I'm sorry.
Go
The
ahead.
police
No.
actually showed up and took her to a store to meet her cousin, the lady that actually called 911.
Okay.
But apparently she lived, away from where they was at. But they took her to the store to meet her cousin. So
Okay.
um that's four.
That's four. And so the fifth one, that's Stephanie's story. And,
Correct.
and
Right.
Brian? Do you have Stephanie's story?
Yeah. So, I have the wave tops of it. This was someone, this is now, Morris has moved to St. Francisville by this point. This is August of 2025 when Stephanie Hevia was last seen. And she was actually trying to run away from Morris physically at the time, the last time one of her friends spoke with her on the phone. Stephanie was on the phone with this friend while she was actually running from Morris. So that was the last time that anybody had heard from her, and that was August of 2025. So that's
A year
number
ago.
5. Yeah, that's victim number 5, and then number 6 is this recent arrest. That he's been arrested and charged with second-degree felony kidnapping, and I forget what the terminology is, but these are serious charges that carry hefty mandatory minimum sentences.
Oh,
Now
definitely.
Stephanie was reported missing in August. We're not sure when the actual call took place. But
Okay.
she was reported missing in August.
Okay.
And then
Um,
once she was reported missing and we started asking questions, her friends came forward with this information.
okay. And
But
and if,
while it
go
was
ahead,
another
Lynn.
lady in between Stephanie and the out of state girl. Um, this lady, she's all over Facebook, but we're going to call her something else. Just give
We'll
me a
call her
name.
Sarah. Sarah.
Okay, so Sarah was with Thomas Morris after Stephanie went missing, and the heat was on Thomas, because they looking at him. They went to the St. Francisville residence asking questions. This girl was there, and he ended up bringing her back and dropping her off at a store. So Sarah was lucky.
Okay.
Um, and then that's the only ones we know of. Then we have the lady that he was just recently arrested for. The one he brought back across state lines.
And that's the second degree kidnapping, false imprisonment, and a half a
Right,
million dollar bond. And
right,
and that's why he's still sitting in jail,
right.
because of that $500,000 bond. So we have 6 women, one that got away real quick, Sarah, right? She's the one that got away
Right.
quick. So
Well,
technically,
he brought her back to the store, and the police actually spoke with her. He brought her back and dropped her off at a store, which she's very blessed. Sarah's very
yeah,
blessed. Because that could have went, any other way. If if the heat wouldn't on Thomas about Stephanie, Sarah could have been the next one that went missing. And also, this we had another lady that came forward with some information in December, this past December, where she had an encounter with Thomas Morris in Denham Springs at the Purple Cow. She gave a statement, and she's been on a podcast telling her story before as well. She was Her and her boyfriend had a flat tire, and they pulled over into the parking area of the Purple Cow, and her boyfriend left to walk up to the store for whatever reason. She said that she noticed a car across the street from her sitting there, and she kept watching this car, and the car circled around the parking lot where she was, went back and sat across the street, and then it came back again and then pulled up beside her. And when her boyfriend came back, she was sending, the message to her boyfriend that that's the guy responsible for these missing girls. So she was very blessed as well that her boyfriend came back,
Wow.
because it's possibility that could have went in a wrong direction for her as well.
Yeah. And let's see. Semi, you had asked about parishes or state, and Brian told you the ones we know about are Zachary and St. Francisville, the two locations. And I put the map up. The red dot, that's the home in Zachary. And then it goes up to St. Francisville, which is family property that he's
Right.
now living on. But this last girl was taken from another state and brought down to Louisiana. We don't know if he's gone out to other parishes.
Right.
Because I think the booking in 2024, he went to East Baton Rouge. Isn't that where he was
Yes,
held?
that's where Zachary is, in East Baton
Okay,
Rouge. So
East
he went
Baton
to
Rouge.
the East
Okay,
Baton Rouge jail there. Yes.
okay. See, we lived in Baton Rouge for 8 years.
Right.
I didn't visit
And
any of the jails, I can say.
where
I
he
w-
was meeting these ladies at on the racetracks was not in Zachary. It was off Airline Highway in Baton Rouge.
yeah,
Okay.
and I know exactly where that was. Hey, Doc, it was down there on Sherwood and Airline.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that was. I know that area,
Mhm.
and it's not a bad area. It's a very nice
Yeah.
area,
It's,
kind of. It's not,
no,
but this,
it's not a rundown.
no,
It's not the hood. Let's say that.
no,
Okay.
yeah, it's not, and so you could see where a woman might feel safe there.
Mhm.
And this is a picture of the property he lives on now. And so, if I remember correctly, one of the comments made with Stephanie was that she was running in the woods. And as you can see with this picture, that the property his family owns, there's a lot of woods.
Mhm.
Brian, how are they going to find this girl if something happened to her out here?
Yeah, I mean, hey, the fact that Morris has been named a suspect, and I hate to keep saying that, that means that they probably have a significant amount of evidence. We know what they have with Madison's case. All I know are the wave tops of Stephanie's, and my guess is they have a lot of evidence in Stephanie's case, enough for them to point this finger at him publicly. There's going to be a number of ways, and one major thing that I want to say is that bond was set at $500,000, right? That made a
Yeah,
statement as well. Morris is allegedly a pretty violent person, from everything we know about him.
yeah,
My guess is there are a lot of people in his sphere that know something about Stephanie's case, that know something about Madison's case, that haven't been willing to come forward out of fear of what would happen to them. Right.
Right.
So Morris being behind bars, we can make conjecture about digital evidence or physical evidence or,
right,
cadaver dogs that could be used or X, Y, and Z. But this last arrest with this woman that thankfully survived her
yes,
relationship with Morris is going to put him behind bars for however long he's going to be there, right? Until these
right,
cases are brought. But what that's going to do is buy some time for investigators to speak to people who now don't have to live in direct fear of him.
Right.
yes,
Who's going to be willing to come forward, and that's a game that I think you see his life unravel over these last 3 years with the decisions he's been making, the things that he we can at least surmise that he was a part of. There's a path of destruction along the way,
right.
and there are people who are going to have things to say to investigators, and hopefully they have the courage to say it now, that it looks like he will be behind bars for the foreseeable future.
Well, and we're
Right.
hoping that his daughter, because his daughter turned 18, right, Lynn?
She just turned 18 in July.
So she would no longer have to have her father present for her to go give a statement. And there were women in the house that said that the young girl saw violence, you know.
Right. Right.
So let's hope she's brave enough to speak up, that she's gotten away from her dad, maybe. And truthfully, it's a time for his family not to try and protect him. I mean, this guy is serious. This is serious. I lived in Baton Rouge back when we had the serial killer that was running loose.
Right.
And I remember how terrifying that was. So the sad thing is, I don't think the community knows that this guy has serial behavior. I'm not saying, that he's done everybody. He hasn't harmed everybody, but he has the serial behavior of being a predator.
Yes, ma'am.
And
I
like,
do know that since Stephanie vanished, that West Feliciana has been working on the case, and that
okay,
I have faith in them.
okay.
I trust that they are actually doing what they need to do.
Brian, do you think, because I just showed how far, his home, let me go back one slide here, how far his house was to the farm where his family lived. If he had harmed Madison, do you think that would be a probable location for taking her?
It would certainly be at the top of my list, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a known spot. It's a place that he would at least he's familiar with. Nobody's going to be asking any questions as to why he's there. That he would know what would be going on during the day, during the night. Our vehicles going by, because when you talk about a potential burial site, disposal site, that becomes very difficult if it's not done in a hasty manner. Quickly done, down and dirty. If it's not done in a hasty manner, it's going to be a place it's going to be a place that you're familiar with. That jumps. I shouldn't say it's going to be, but that jumps to the top of the list.
Right.
And if you're talking about an expansive property with dense woods, dense vegetation, that would definitely be a place to look.
Yeah,
Now,
I mean, that place is dense.
Now his kids. Do we know where they are right now? Are they staying with other family members? Are they in the system now, or
I don't know.
He had 2 children at home, and the daughter just made 18. She just went off to the military.
Okay.
The son, for some reason, I want to say he's like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
For what I gather, he's living with his aunt, which is on the property there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I think the child had probably been living with his aunt for a while, wasn't he?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But he is now. So someone's taking care of him. Because that poor kid needs someone to look out for him. I noticed the only other location I was interested in when I was first looking at this case, Brian, was from his house over. There's a place called the Jackson Cemetery. Do you know if they ever checked that place out? Because there's a huge field and it looks like, what I want to say, like some kind of water, like a swampy area in there. And I'm wondering if that would be my only location that would have been close to his house, if someone would have at least gone and looked. I'm
not aware that there has been any major organized search by law enforcement, and certainly not and Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that there has been any search of waterways or any type of
No.
underwater search. And hey, you're right. That's that location. If you look at his Ash Street residence, if
Yeah.
there was something done in a hasty manner, he would need a vehicle to do that. You're not carrying somebody that distance, and he doesn't look like he's in the physical condition to
Right.
be hauling somebody a long distance himself. And hey, the question about the vehicle comes in, right? Is when he's asking about the deer blood and he's asking about, cleaning things up. Did he use that vehicle to move Madison's body? And that's always been at the top of, our minds when that piece of information came out, right? So once you introduce the vehicle, all bets are off. A Doug McGregor geospatial intelligence analysis could tell you more than I could, but when you introduce a vehicle as a possibility, the map gets extraordinarily bigger, right?
Right. I was thinking of him because I saw you and him on Lauren's show together when you guys were talking about Nikki McCain. And so, yeah, he would be the one to do that. Because if he didn't go far, because this is 3 minutes from home, it would be an area he knew. Otherwise, like I said, I think you would go home because you know that area really well. But if you're, like you said, in a hurry, and want to get out of there fast, that's because it doesn't look, it's called, I think, Jackson Cemetery, but it doesn't look like it's used anymore. And like I said, there's a part in the back that looks like swamp, and that's kind of the part that caught my attention. Was, let's see, I might have gotten too far, but there's like a real swampy area in there that would be interesting for them to try and check out, because at this point I would hope the police would maybe do some searches now.
I would not be surprised, in either Stephanie's or Madison's cases, that there would be a search at some point in the near future here. When they're naming him as a person of interest, my prayer, my hope is that somebody's talking, that they have information, intelligence, evidence, and you could, my terminology may be unorthodox, but I look at those things in those three buckets. That there's some things that are just information. There are some things that are intelligence that we might be able to act on. And then for law enforcement, they need evidence to start, putting together a case for the district attorney to actually bring somebody to trial. Now, in my world, we're looking for those other two and taking those other two buckets a lot more seriously. So I have a feeling that, things like a search are going to be driven by evidence or intelligence, right? And they're going to need it's not just going to be, hey, he owns this property. The property might get searched. Let's period, end of story. I could see a search warrant executed on his property, dogs, ground penetrating radar, LiDAR, everything brought in. I can see that happening. These other places on the map, they're going to need something to send them out there, right? Because there's a limited amount of resources. You don't want to swing and miss too many times. And I think that the best evidence is going to come from somebody who's willing to testify. I was with him on this night. I went here. He went there. This is what happened, right? And that's what could really drive this forward.
And Lynn, you said
that he confided in.
Correct.
Lynn, you said there was a young man. We'll call him Tom, or no, we'll call him John. John did come forward saying that someone in the house told him that Morris had hurt Madison, right?
Right.
And did the police ever talk to him?
Yes. they got his statement as well.
because he literally said that she had been killed
Right.
by Morris, that
Yes,
he'd killed
ma'am.
her. And so it's just this is one of those cases that's frustrating because it's like you put these pieces together and there was so much circumstantial evidence, but it was like nobody wanted to move on it. And the only reason we've got movement is thankfully that one girl got saved, you know, but he changed his story all the time. First, Madison left with all of her belongings. Then, no, she didn't. He said she left the house and got in the car with a stranger,
Said that she left. His first story was that she left on November the 29th while he was at work and his children was at school, that she got in an unidentified vehicle and she left. But,
Now, explain.
supposedly no cameras worked at the house. I mean, so how do you know what she left with, or how she left? But
Yeah,
I had so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
that's what gets me is how do you know she left the house and got in the car if you don't have camera footage? And if you have camera footage, why aren't the police looking at it?
Right.
Yeah, and listen, in 2023, people don't leave the house, don't leave forever, leaving their cell phone, their laptop,
Yeah, no.
all of their clothing
No.
behind, right?
I agree with that.
if I had a couple bucks for every missing persons case I was on, that somebody told me, oh, they left behind their cell phone and all that, you're like, okay, I mean, this is people don't leave their cell phones behind. They're,
Exactly.
you know that, especially if you're leaving, right?
Mhm.
Well, especially
It's,
because she stayed in contact with her mom.
She stayed in contact with me. Me and Madison had a relationship where if something was going on and she needed me to come get her, I would go get her, no questions asked. I would just tell her, if I'm coming to get you, you gonna get in the car when I get there. And she knew this. She knows that I would go to the end of the world to get her, regardless of what was going on, because I had no fear. I proved that to her several times. But my daughter just wouldn't just up and disappear, and that's what I tried to tell the police when I reported her missing. I said, no, my daughter didn't just disappear. Something has happened to my child. I know this because she is not just going to up and disappear.
And I think that's one thing that the cops, when they make a mistake, is they look at somebody living in a lifestyle that's, not a sticks and bricks or in a home.
Right.
They might be unsheltered or they might be living in a motel or whatever, and they make a decision on who this person is. And they don't realize that even when people are, because I like to say unsheltered instead of homeless, because they usually have a relative that they could go to most of the
Right.
time. So they're unsheltered. We don't know why. We don't know the circumstances. There can be trauma there. And so, but they usually stay in contact with their family in some way, whether it's once a month or, every couple of months, they usually will check in. And I think that's where I hope the police departments start realizing that when someone comes in and says, my son is missing, my daughter is missing, yes, they weren't living at home, they were unsheltered, that they start taking it a little more seriously.
Exactly, because all lives matter.
Yes.
And it shouldn't matter if they lived in a mansion or if they lived in a homeless camp. They're still
Yeah.
somebody and they deserve to be searched for.
Yeah. And this man is dangerous. Brian, we talked just a little bit. Anyone, his charges in October of 2024 were strangulation. And that's actually the precursor, one of the highest things that leads you to that this person will commit a homicide.
Yeah, spot on. And in this case, this is somebody who has a victimology, that these are the women that he's approaching and victimizing, fit the same type of description, are encountering some of the same life circumstances when they're at kind of the valley of their vulnerability. He shows up with all this potential aid, and it's a really disturbing case. And I think I do want to say, Lynn, it's been an honor to know you, and you have pursued this for years, and I do believe, and I pray that justice is served here, and that it will be in no small part because of what you've done. Because I don't think that any of these other cases would have the attention that they're getting without what you've been doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know working with the Native community, so many of them have to fight their own fight, and you're doing the same
Right.
thing. You're out there investigating, you're getting statements, you're getting leads, and you're not doing a vigilante situation. You're turning them into the authorities. You're doing it all proper. You just want your baby home. But
Yeah,
it's
when I first reported Madison missing, I hoped that I would stir up enough stink that they would, actually get out there and look for my daughter. But it didn't work. But giving up is not an option for me, and
yeah,
it's not going to be an option. I'm not going to stop until I find my baby and bring her home.
yeah, and I don't blame you, honey. And we're here to support you. Brian was awesome enough that his company, the Kingman Fund, is putting up a $5,000 reward. So if anybody has any information that can help Lynn find her daughter, get some justice, now's the time. I think it's the perfect time for the reward. And I think thank you for stepping up, Brian, and
Thank you.
offering that, because
No, it's our
that
pleasure.
she needs to be brought home. She needs to be brought home. And if any woman, if somebody strangles you, don't say he choked you, because choking is something you do on a piece of food. Strangling is
Right.
someone putting their hands around your throat. And sometimes it's hard to prove because sometimes they don't leave a mark. But it is the closest thing to, when they do that is to a homicide. And it's all about power and control. So we got to make sure that we are getting the message out on that. And we just want her home. I mean, Brian, what do you want to tell families that are in Lynn's situation right now? What should they be doing?
Never give up. I think if I could share a message to families who are in a similar scenario, is that Lynn has not given up, and I truly believe that it is those efforts for the last 3 years, coming up on 3 years, that have led to this arrest. It's the amount of attention put on Thomas Morris to get answers, right? The attention put on Madison's case to ask questions. And, we pray that justice is served and the truth is found, but never give up. And Lynn has not stopped for a day here. So, and I think that's why, this progress has happened.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you on that. Lynn's a warrior. She just
Definitely.
wants that baby girl to be
That's a
able to come
fact.
home,
Yep.
and I think it's important that families understand that our platform is here, and it is for people that want to get the word out, because it's important. We have to be able to tell someone that, hey, these cases need to be closed. We need to
Right.
find who's doing this.
Mhm.
Bring them home, even if it's just bring them home to rest. Um, and that's why, we're here, Lynn, if you need us for anything. What else do you want us to know about Madison before we go, or any last words that you want to say?
I just want to bring my baby home. I've shared this video several times that Madison had made of me back in November of 22, where she says, "This is my mom. She makes the magic happen when you come home and you need her." And
Yeah,
I've had to help making the magic happen, you guys included, because I can't do it by myself. I can go out and talk to people all day long and search and look, but I can't do it by myself. And
yeah,
I just greatly appreciate everyone and every organization that has helped me get my daughter's story out there. Missing people need a voice.
yes,
Yes, they do.
Um, and I've been Madison's loudest voice since I reported her missing. And
yeah,
I want to bring her home. I want to bring Stephanie home. I've spoken to
yeah,
Stephanie's sisters and mom, and and I told them I would do whatever I could do to help bring Stephanie home as well. Uh, I'm thankful he's in jail. I'm very thankful he's in jail. And I hate that what happened to the lady that he brought across state lines had to happen.
yeah,
But if it wouldn't have happened, he wouldn't have been in jail now, and we wouldn't be getting hopefully some answers that we're about to receive. And I just
yeah,
pray that since he's in jail, that people feel safe and can come out and give their information that they have. If they have information that could keep him in jail or link him to my son or to Stephanie or anybody else that's missing women that we don't even know of, come
yeah.
forward with that information. And Brian, I greatly appreciate the reward that you have posted. It's just y'all been a blessing too. I
Uh,
spoke with Brian. It's been a couple years ago, and I sent him everything that I had at the time, which I've got a whole lot more since then. And he put together this report for me, and I greatly appreciate everything that you've done. I can't remember how I got in touch with you though, but I'm very thankful that I did.
yeah, it's an honor to know you, Lynn, and
Thank you.
we're in your corner.
Yeah,
And it's just, if someone needs help and they don't know where to go, I'm all on Facebook and YouTube. You can reach
yeah,
out to me, and I can help anyone the best way that I can to get their loved one out there. It's just, you know, my daughter's missing, and I know she's not gonna come home the way that I want her to come home, but I'm gonna bring her home. And
yeah,
I don't want any family to feel like I did when I first reported my daughter missing. I had to fight to prove that something had happened to my child. And I don't want anybody else to feel like they by themselves or that they're alone while they're doing that. I want to help who I can help.
and I think that's an important message, Lynn, and it's heartfelt, and I think families are going to hear that and be able to relate, because
Mhm.
most advocates that get into with missing persons, unfortunately, you fall into it because of tragedy that you go through,
Right.
you know.
And it's a struggle. It's hard on all of us. It's just it's
Because
just been a struggle, but
Madison has a sister and has a brother, and you have, your grandbabies, and you all
right.
Madison's kids and your other children's kids. So, yeah, it affects the entire family.
It does. And then, when I first reported Madison missing, that's all I could do was work on Madison's case. And I neglected people that was close to me, my kids. I had a boyfriend at the time, and of course, we split up. But anyway, all I could see and focus on was Madison, because my
Yeah,
baby was out there missing and she needed me, and I was gonna find her. One way or the other, I
yeah,
was gonna do what I had to do to find her.
Mhm.
yeah,
It takes a lot out of someone. But people ask me how you stay so strong. Well, I got God, and in the love that I have for
yeah,
Madison,
Yep.
yeah.
I'm gonna bring her home.
And that's what counts. Like I said, we're here anytime we can help in any way, get another message out. Everyone in our community, please share this episode so we can get Madison's picture out, her story out. If anybody has run across this man, he's a predator. He needs, please come
Right.
forward. Tell your story to the police. Go to the sheriff and let him know what's happened. Any evidence, now is the time to speak up. This is life-saving. And so quickly, I just wanted to share, let me see, because we always do a couple of missing people posters real quick. And so if you're out and about, please put your cell phones down and look at people. You never know when you could save a life, because sometimes people get coerced out of their home, especially young ones. They think they're meeting someone else and it doesn't go well, and they can't go home, and we know trafficking happens. This is Julianne Champagne. She's 10. Her sister is Rosemary. She's 11. They're both missing as of August 2nd of this year from Great Falls, Montana. And they're Native American. They have black eyes or black hair, brown eyes. The little one is 5'4" and weighs 121 pounds. Rosemary, who's 11, is 5'8" and weighs 181 pounds. If you have seen them, please contact the Great Falls PD at 406-455-8565, or the Montana has a clearinghouse at 406-444-2800. These little ones need to come home. And this is Scarlett Perez. There's not a lot of information. She's 14. She's from Newlando, Louisiana. She went missing at 6 a.m. on August 15th. That's all we got. Someone needs to find this little girl and bring her home. Please do not forget, Stephanie is still missing. Madison is still missing, and she needs to come home. She's loved, and so if you see something, please say something to people. Brian, any last words for us?
I appreciate you, sharing Madison's story tonight, and, having me on and having a chance to talk to Lynn again. It's been a couple weeks since we connected last. And I think, hey, see something, say something. If you know something, come forward. On the poster, we have a tip line. You don't know one piece of information, no matter how small you think it is, particularly if you were worried about Thomas Morris, if you were worried that there could be violence brought against you for some reason, you can use that tip line. You can call the St. Francisville Police. You can call any of these law enforcement agencies that are associated with either Madison or Stephanie's case, and come forward. Have the courage to do that. There are families, there are children, there are mothers who are waking up and going to bed every day not knowing. And it's time for the truth. It's time for justice. And if you are that person out there, I assume you're following these cases, and if you know something that was revealed to you, you must come forward. Have the courage to do it now that he's behind bars.
Yeah. And the Kingman tip line number, you guys, is 754-219-8937. Or you can email tips@therealkingsman.org. So please use those numbers or that tip line if you know anything. And I just want you all to remember that, don't forget, every killer and every predator, it depends on our silence. And we're committed to not giving it to them, because that wasn't a mannequin. It never is, you guys. Someone knows something, and someone always does. Our motto here has always been silence is betrayal. And if we don't hear about these stories, we can't make change. We can't help. That's what the bad guys count on. So, Brian, anytime if you have a story you want us to tell, or any of your guys need a platform, or families need a platform, please let them know. We're here for them. Lynn, anybody that you know that needs a platform, we're here. This is what we do. We care about what's happening with people. So until next time, you guys, stay informed, stay compassionate, and keep speaking the truth, seeking the truth, and never stop speaking. Doc, do you want to say goodnight to our friends?
Yep. Good night, Doc.
You're so silly.
Thank you, Doc.
I adore
Thank
that
y'all.
man. We love you all. You guys listen to my last song before we go tonight. You guys have a good one. Remember, the criminals don't stop, so neither do we. We're going to see you on Thursday with another story. We love you all. Good night. Ciao.
Another name goes up on a board, another face on a screen, another mother learns the meaning of a silence so obscene. Some of them make the headlines, some don't get a single line. Depends on who's doing the counting, depends on who's kind. She wasn't perfect, so they said she probably ran. She partied a little too hard and trusted the wrong man, as if living the only way she could that day gives anybody the right to judge. And look away, how many more women, how many more girls, how many more gonna vanish from these streets? Every woman, every girl deserves to be found, deserves someone looking till she's home safe and sound. How many more, how many more, till we stop looking the other way and start keeping score? Somebody's daughter under a downtown bridge, nowhere left to go. Somebody's sister in a motel room, surviving what we don't know. Abuse and addiction don't come with a warning label, don't leave an easy mark, and that's why we don't judge the road that brought her here. Age don't make a difference, 16 or 63, a cold case in a filing cabinet, a name that used to be, she lived on the fringe, so they closed the file quick, but predators know exactly who won't be missed. How many more women, how many more girls, how many more gonna vanish from these streets? Every woman, every girl deserves to be found, deserves someone looking till she's home safe and sound. How many more, how many more, till we stop looking the other way and start keeping score? But what about the ones with no mama on the phone, no family fighting, no one calling her home? Everyone deserves to be missed, deserves the alarm to sound. When a woman or a girl goes missing, we come around. Silence is a betrayal, a hand that turns away. Looking past her is its own kind of silence anyway. Don't matter what she was doing, don't matter how she lived, she was somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's friend. If there's no one else to come for her,